Hey, what's up guys, how's it going? Today we'll be doing a Hey, what's up guys, how's it going? Today we'll be doing a review of the 2020 Chevy Bolt. We'll do an outside walk around, an inside tour, and take it on a drive. Okay, walking around the 2020 Chevy Bolt, what's going to get most people curious about this car are the specs. So let's go over that real quick. The electric motor here puts out 200 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque, and this car can provide you with a maximum range of 259 miles. Moving on to charging speeds, there are 3 different charging speeds depending on what power outputs you have available to you. With 120 volts, you get 4 miles for every hour of charge, which is not a lot. I don't recommend that. Then you have your 240 volt, which will give you 40 miles in under 2 hours, which is good when parking in the house and overnight and getting ready for your next commute. But probably the best option, and it is an option on this vehicle, is the DC fast charging, which gives you 100 miles in 30 minutes, which is great if you're ever going on a road trip and you need to get really quick charging. Moving on to the shift lever here, it is a little bit tricky, but I'm going to show you guys a little TikTok I made here, which simply explains how to use it. Power it on. And here's your shift lever. The way it works, you have to press this side button whenever going out of park. So to go into reverse, same thing, go back into park. To go out of park into drive, you have to press that side button right there. Once you're in drive though, you can just go down for low, go down again to go back into drive, hold it up for neutral, and then go over to reverse. And you don't need to actually press the button anymore once you're out of park. And once you're done, you put it in park and you're good to go. Now we got the most trickiest part of the drive out of the way. Let's talk about some fun facts. Looking inside the seats here, you'll actually notice they're asymmetrical. And I guess prior to knowing this, it didn't really present itself as much, but now that I know it's there, it did kind of bother me on the drive. In terms of the weight of this car versus the battery, the overall body weighs 815 pounds, which is actually 134 pounds less than the vehicle's battery. And I think that's a really cool feat of engineering in terms of just how much weight they were able to remove from the actual vehicle. In terms of overall looks, I think this is a very good looking hatchback, and I don't think it's trying to be like, hey, I'm electric, which you see from other cars such as the Nissan Leaf and the BMW i3. Now, since making this video, Chevy has teased the upcoming Chevy Bolt EV and the Bolt EUV. Think their SUV version of the Bolt EV, which will go into production in 2021. There are rumors of having GM Super Cruise technology, which is their true hands-free freeway driving feature, which seems pretty cool and on pace to kind of compete with Tesla's autopilot. I also expect there to be range improvements to keep up with the competition, and it's exciting to see how this Bolt will progress into the future to compete with the likes of the Tesla Model 3 and the Tesla Model Y. If you are enjoying this content so far, please smash that like button and subscribe. I have more car and truck reviews planned in the future, and I upload a new video every week. Okay, now let's see how this thing drives. All right guys, so we're inside the car here. I have the AC off. I'm actually gonna turn it on and lose a couple miles of range, but it's okay. It's pretty quiet overall. I have it at the lowest setting, and it actually does a good job at the lowest setting. I think once the whole car's cooled down, I think that's honestly enough, personally for me. So we're gonna go into drive here, lower the park brake, it's not even engaged, and yeah, first off, actually, let's get it into the low range, which this is the L. I don't know if it's actually what it stands for. I'll clarify that in the voiceover if I haven't already. And this is where you get the one-pedal driving experience. And if you guys don't know one-pedal driving, what it means, it's basically where the regen of the motors are sufficient enough to slow you down in that basically when you're driving day to day, you don't need to operate the brakes. And that's what L does. So it'll slow you down instantly. It's actually pretty aggressive. It takes some getting used to. This is what is going to be quirky about the driving experience here. So yeah, I should have even let go earlier so I can get to the complete stop at the stop sign, and then I can proceed as normal. So again, like you're driving normally, everything else is normal. When you're accelerating, obviously you don't hear an engine, but once you get off, it'll aggressively start to pull you back. So that's a lot of the, I don't really need to experience it more than that. If you're even downhill, it can take you to a complete stop when you let off. It's pretty aggressive. If I go back into drive, this is when it's gonna drive as similar to a normal car. It'll creep. It won't regen as aggressively unless you press the left paddle shifter, let's call it the paddle, behind the steering wheel. then it'll regen and slow you down as if you're in the low setting. Let's actually go over here. Other than that, you can press the brakes to slow you down. And the cool thing is, I feel like they did a really good job of blending the brake feel and the regen, so that it's really seamless. I don't really notice the transition or the difference between when I'm regenerating, braking, or applying the disc brakes. In terms of seats, I did discuss this, but on longer trips, they aren't as comfortable. I feel like if no one had told me that these seats were asymmetrical, I wouldn't have noticed, but now it really does bother me. And I feel like I really notice the difference just putting my elbows right here. You really feel the difference in the bolstering. But they did whatever they can to cut down weight. You guys know that by the facts and statistics about this car, like I discussed. In terms of acceleration, this does get you from 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds. And the nice thing is, it's not just from 0 to 60, it does it from any speed to any other speed. It'll accelerate just as consistently. I mean, obviously it tapers off towards the high end, and you get that. The power, which is 200 horsepower, is a lot to overwhelm the torque, the torque is a lot to overwhelm these tires. If you're going from a standstill off the line, you'll get these wheels chirping without a problem. I mean, it's a front wheel drive car. Your weight is really down low, but then again, the tires are limited in terms of their performance. Let's move on to control and handling. So yeah, it's front wheel drive. The steering is decent. I mean, there's nothing really special about it. I think it's nice and comfortable steering. It's nothing sporty. It's nothing really aggressive. I think it well suits the character of this car. In terms of suspension, it's nice and supple. It soaks up bumps pretty nicely, but I'm not expecting a luxury level of comfort since this is ultimately, I feel like, more of an economical car. But the leather seats do help with the comfort feel. I feel like I'm in, even the leather armrest or the faux leather armrest, I feel like that's what this is. It does give you some level of refinement. The steering is by far my favorite leather piece within the interior of the car. The rest are harsher plastics, but you don't touch those as much. I mean, I do actually have my foot up personally because that's how I sit, but I have noticed hitting it against the door here, which is pretty harsh. Aside from that, they did make the plastics look nice, the white plastic specifically. Aside from that, it's pretty weight saving, cost saving oriented. In terms of visibility, you have tons of it. I really feel like I'm in a fishbowl and everyone can see me, but I can see everything. Visibility is not really an issue at all. You have that nice camera on the rear view mirror in case you have your stuff, a bunch of stuff in the back that does obscure your vision, which is nice. The mirrors are ginormous. This is my entire arm, and it really takes up, it's just huge. And I actually noticed it the most when I was watching someone else drive this car next to me on the freeway. I was like, wow, you could see a lot of that person. And it's just, I think it's as much as you'd expect in an SUV, I feel like, in terms of that vertical height. But I'm not gonna complain of visibility. This front windshield is huge, but you do get a lot of light in, and I feel like with the chrome trim, that is a downside. So it's something I'm not really a fan of. The coolest thing actually is, as I'm driving this car, I actually gained a mile. I'm going entirely downhill. I'm not really accelerating. I'm on regen the entire time, and I just went from 32 miles to 33 left. And that's the plus side of owning an electric car. You can get more range than expected, depending on how you drive it. If you're good about it, it will reward you. And you do have the reports and analytics here for that to happen. But the best thing about drive is it does drive like a normal car. I think that's the biggest compliment I can give it. There's no learning curve outside of just getting used to not hearing an engine, which is nice. Speaking of no engine, no sound, the cabin is pretty quiet. It does, even on the freeway, it does deaden sound. There's a good amount of sound deadening, I feel like, or insulation from the outside, that you don't get too much wind noise or vibrations. I think they did a good job, and it's impressive given how light this vehicle is. So in terms of pushing this car to its limit, I did that in a separate video, and I'll link it down below. My experience driving from San Diego to LA and back in one day, and really maximizing the use of the charging network that these cars really rely on. So for my full thoughts on that, I'll refer you to that video. In summary, it basically comes down to, I'm not gonna fault the car on its lack of range. 259 miles is really good. But when you need to go past that in a pinch, or when you're not necessarily gonna plan your route and plan all the charging points, the charging network, I feel like, holds this car back.
and you need to get the level 3 charging. That's a #1 fact. And if you don't have it, you need to make sure you are prepared to go wherever you are going and have your stuff very well organized, because sometimes chargers won't be available. Even though they say they are, they can have faults, or they can be in super expensive to park or to charge areas. The rates are set by the facility that owns them, not by the network. So that's something I'm going to keep out there and let you guys know, because I think it's important, because it's part of the ownership experience of this vehicle. All right, with that said, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, please smash that like button. It helps me out a lot. And subscribe if you want to see more future videos like this. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.